Welcome to the Panteva Perspective, Corporate Immigration and Global Mobility.
Welcome back to the Panteva Perspective, Corporate Immigration and Global Mobility with immigration attorney Iskra Panteva. Iskra is the founder of Panteva Law Group in Chicago, where she helps companies, entrepreneurs, and highly skilled professionals navigate the complexities of U.S. business immigration. I'm Evan Mack, and today we're talking about what employers should understand when they're considering hiring a foreign national, including the key decisions and planning steps that tend to shape the process from the start. And Ms. Iskra, my dear, welcome back.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. So when a company first realizes they want to hire someone who isn't already authorized to work in the United States, what are the first questions that typically need to be answered before choosing a visa strategy?
Well, the first thing that they need to figure out is what kind of job, what kind of position they want to fill in, what are the qualifications of the employee, and what are the next steps that they need to take in order for them to um, sponsor that employee. Usually, we would recommend that they talk with an attorney, so they can clarify what are the types of visas that they can apply for and how long the timing will be, how long the process will be, and what are the steps going forward.
So from an employer's perspective, how much does the specific job role influence which immigration options might be available to them?
That's the key, right? We based on the position, we can qualify certain people for H-1B visa, which is a specialty occupation visa. We can qualify them for a TN visa. We can qualify them for an O1 visa or J1 visa, right? There is a lot of different types of visas, but we need to make sure that we understand, is this an unskilled worker visa? Is it an H-2B visa? Or is it something that is more of a professional position or executive position or managerial position, right? But a lot of times, all of these types of visas will be aligned with the different positions that they have. So that's a key, right?
You just touched on a few of them, but companies often hear about several different ones, H-1B, L-1, TN, O-1, and others. What usually determines which of these pathways might actually make sense for a particular hire?
So the job description is one, as we discussed. And then another thing is the nationality of the individual that is coming to the
Interesting.
United States. So, for example, if they're Canadians or Mexican, then a TN visa might qualify. There are certain other nationalities that are also they have a special visa types, like, for example, people from Singapore or Chile also have a certain type of visas that are kind of special for them. The other option, the other thing that needs to be, that we need to be concerned with is what is the resume of those? What are the qualifications of those individuals that are supposed to come in? Are those people with extraordinary abilities? Are they people in art? Are they people in engineering field? Are they people that have won a gold medal in the Olympics? Or are they people that are movie stars that have humongous rating overseas, right? So depending on what kind of professionals they are, what kind of nationality they have, what kind of abilities they have, that can usually help decide what kind of program we can qualify them under.
So timing can be one of the biggest constraints in employment immigration. How do timelines affect the strategy when a company wants someone to start working in the U.S.?
So we have a lot of different visas that are available, but not every qualification or not every employee will qualify under either one. So the first thing that we need to kind of to be concerned with is whether or not we are looking into what is the timing, right? What is the timing in terms of when they are going to start the project or the role. So, for example, if they are looking to start in 2 weeks, maybe one of the visa is not going to qualify. For example, H-1B visa has lottery, and you cannot really transfer those individuals to overseas here unless they unless there is some time, right? There is enough timing for that. So 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, sometimes is not going to be enough for H-1B. If you are looking for a um, long-term visas, long-term solution, then that might be an option. So timing a lot of times is a key, and it depends on the employer and their requirements.
Employers also need to think about long term planning. How does the possibility of permanent residency or green card sponsorship factor into the initial hiring decision?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times the employer needs to be aware that it's not that easy to sponsor an individual on a green card, for a green card, right? So they might be able to come in here for, 3 years or 5 years or 7 years, but after that, there might be they might have difficult time getting a green card. So those things needs to be into consideration. Usually, the most important thing for an individual is obviously to have some kind of a obviously legal status here in the United States, but also an opportunity to get a green card. For the employer, sometimes getting a green card is important, but they have to qualify under certain conditions. For example, they have to have an ability to pay. They have to show that they have an ability to pay those employees. And sometimes that's not especially for smaller employers. That's not always the case, right? And they have to show it through their taxes, for example, or financial statements, or they need to show it by already paying the individual the required wages. So it's a long process. It is, there is a lot of time, efforts, and money involved in that. They have to be aware of where what's the process and whether or not they're willing to go through that route in order for them to secure that employee.
Compliance is another area that, companies sometimes underestimate. What responsibilities does an employer take once they sponsor a foreign national employee?
So it depends on the visa type. A lot of times, if you have an H-1B visa, for example, you have to you have to have in your records the information from the petition. You have to have the labor condition application. You have to have a public access file. You have to have a lot of different things that are part of that application, right? Maybe job description, maybe qualifications. And a lot of times, what happens is, practically speaking, USCIS might have inspection. So somebody can come to the office and then can say, "Hey, you have sponsored H-1B individual. Can you present is he here?" Right. So that's the first thing that they might ask. And if he's here, they just want to verify that he's working under
Right.
the petition, the visa category. The next thing that they might do is they might ask for what is he doing on a daily basis, whether or not what he's actually doing is the same as what the company has pledged in their petition that he will be doing, right? He or she. Are they working in an engineering position? Are they working as a computer scientist? Are they working as a artist? What exactly are they doing, right? And then the other thing is that they want to make sure that the company also has the ability to pay for those employees. We've had inspections where people are saying, "Okay, we see that they are working on a project. They are compliant with everything that you have presented at the petition, but we still don't understand. Do you have, the money, and how you're going to have the money to pay for for them for the next 3 years? So you definitely need to show that you have some, contracts that you are working on, that you are working and you are getting income based on that."
So you've worked with many businesses navigating this process for the first time. Can you share an example of a company that needed to step back and rethink its hiring strategy after learning more about the immigration requirements?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times what happens is, the employers are looking to hire. They are trying to hire somebody. They cannot find anybody that in the United States, and they are trying to find kind of a more creative strategy in that. However, a lot of times they are not really aware of the requirements for the immigration, and that's when things are kind of getting, out of hand a little bit. But what we have seen a lot of times is people want to hire, let's say, engineers. Those engineers are not able to, they want to hire them usually on an H-1B visa because that's a typical work visa. And then, but they cannot do that. They cannot hire them immediately, right? So in order for them to be able to hire people for a H-1B, they have to start the process like a year earlier, right? So if you want to hire somebody in October of 2026, you probably should recruit them somewhere in November or December of 2025. Otherwise, you are going to be just out of luck because you're going to miss the lottery, and then you are going to miss, the window when you can apply for them. So yeah, it's a long planning process. But if you are, if the employer is aware, it can work out pretty well. It's just that there is a lot of caveats, a lot of different things that needs to be aware of for anybody that wants to sponsor some employees should be aware of.
For startups or smaller companies that are hiring global talent for the first time, what are some of the challenges they tend to encounter early on, Iskra?
Well, the startups are it's a little bit complicated to hire for startups, just because of this ability to pay, right? When you are coming out, and you're just starting to kind of to work through the process, you need to show that, you might not have enough money, you might not have, the income might not be there yet, right? But you have some funds. So a lot of times when you have a startup, you need to show that you have the ability to pay, but you don't have the years of experience, years of taxes, years of financial statements to show that this has been a stable company for a number of years. So that's where there is always a little bit of a problem. Obviously, if you are well funded, if you are already, doing business, having contracts, looking to hire people that are professional in professional occupations, and you are able to pay those individuals, at least I would say like 6 months to 1 year, then, I don't think that there is major issues. However, if you're just starting right now and you don't have even kind of funds, right? Or you don't have any kind of investments in the business, it might be very complicated.
And Iskra, if an Illinois employer is just beginning to explore the possibility of hiring international talent, what early planning steps tend to make the entire process more manageable for them?
Yeah, they need to be aware of exactly who they are hiring, right? What is their CV? What exactly they have in terms of degree, experience, skills. They want to make sure that they're aware of the timing when they need to apply. Do they need to participate in a lottery, or if they not need to go through that process? They want also to make sure that their books are in order, right? That they have the money to pay, and that they can clearly show that they're an active company that is doing business, and then that company is generating income. They also want to make sure that the job that they are hiring for is pretty solid, right? So if they're looking for an H-1B, it has to be a specialty occupation. If it's a TN visa, it has to be part of the occupational list. If they're going for a J1 or O1, there is different requirements there. So definitely they need to make sure that they understand what are the job duties, what are the qualifications of the employee that they want to hire, and then also they need to talk with an attorney and figure out what are the timing issues, and also what kind of visas that they can apply for.
Yes, Iskra, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Amazing. That's it for today's episode of the Panteva Perspective, Corporate Immigration and Global Mobility. To learn more about Iskra Panteva and the work she does with employment-based immigration, visit panteva.com. Thanks for listening. And if you found this episode helpful, be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a review. Thank you very much, and we'll see you all next time.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button and leave us a review in the comments.